Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Amanda. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I usually keep my content mostly like pregnancy related, but I want to kind of throw in some new things because I'm running out of ideas for content, honestly. So I've been just thinking of different things to do, and I have had a lot of people ask me how I met my husband or the story of how we met, or just if they're confused in general, because sometimes it can be kind of confusing. So I'm gonna be telling you guys that story today. I have been married almost a year, so in December it will be a year. We had our wedding in February. That was like our actual wedding reception, but we got married in December in order for me to be able to move down to Pensacola with him, because he's in the Navy and that's where he was stationed next, and I was living in North Carolina. But anyways, we're gonna talk all about that, but that's when I got married. So first things first is that I met my husband originally when I was working at Starbucks as a barista. I was working part-time at that point at Starbucks. I'd been there for 3 or 4 years at that point, but I had decided to get another job, like a day job that paid better. So I just worked at Starbucks at night, and there was a new store opening in our area, and this one in particular was a little bit closer to my house, and I really didn't want to transfer there. I had no intentions of transferring to that store. And then one day I just asked if I could transfer because I just like wanted a new kind of, I wanted just like a new, I don't know, like a new work environment. I had been working at that specific Starbucks, my Starbucks before, for almost like 4 years at that point. And I had also left Starbucks, not yet. My timeline is all over the place, but I promise I'll get it down. So I asked to transfer, and my manager told me no, they already had enough people, and I was like, okay, whatever, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like my heart was set on transferring. It was just that I was asking if I could, or if they needed me to. I was basically just offering because it was close to my house. So then like a week later, the store manager for the new store that was opening up came in and kind of was just asking questions about our store. And I was like, oh yeah, I asked to transfer to your store, but my manager said no. And so then like a couple days later, my manager said, okay, well, the new store manager over there wants you to transfer to his store. I was a closer at Starbucks. I had been closing at Starbucks for, like I said, 3 or 4 years at that point. So I ended up transferring to this new store where it hadn't even opened yet. So I remember walking in for a meeting after I was done working my day job, which was at a credit union as a teller. And Mauricio was going over Quaza. He was like the Quaza leader. So Quaza is what Starbucks hires. It's like a third party to a health inspector. So you have like your state health inspector, and then Starbucks took the extra step of hiring another third party health inspector, which was way more in depth. They were super picky on how clean your stores were. And I remember Mauricio was giving this Quaza speech, and I probably came in late because I don't remember if I came in late or came on time or like right in time. I just remember that everyone was already there when I got there, but I don't know if I was late or if I was just like the last one to arrive. But anyways, at that point, I was in a serious relationship with my high school sweetheart at that point. So honestly, nothing thought over me as like, you know, like, he was attractive. Obviously for me, he was attractive, but it wasn't something that I was like gooing over him, because I was in a committed relationship at that point. I had been in a relationship with my high school sweetheart at that point for like, oh shit, 4 years, 5 years, 4 years, almost 4 years. So I was like, oh yeah, I got my numbers wrong. I definitely was working only at Starbucks for like 2 years at this point, because I was definitely dating my high school sweetheart for almost 4 years at that point, and we'd been graduated from high school So I'd only been working at Starbucks for like 2 years. So you guys know that now because I said that, but I'm gonna, when I'm editing the video, I'm gonna put little 2-year marks so you guys don't get confused. So at that point I had been dating my high school sweetheart for years, for a couple of years at that point, and we were, I wouldn't say we were happy in our relationship, but we were in a relationship and we were trying to make it work. So like I said, there was nothing that I did that was cheating wise, and Mauricio as well was in a relationship with his girlfriend at the time, and we ended up working a lot together. He was a shift supervisor and I was just a barista, so we would close a lot and we got along really well, like friends. We never flirted, we never crossed the line. We always just talked about life, work. I mean, it was just like a very friendly friendship, like relationship. But there was something always there that just was easy. It was just very easy, and I was attracted to him at that point. But like I said, no lines were crossed on either side. We were both very faithful in our relationships. Both of our relationships were like our #1 priority. So honestly, nothing came of it. So Mauricio ended up quitting Starbucks and working full-time at his day job, and then I eventually quit Starbucks as well and went to work at a completely different job with my sister to go back to school to finish my degree. And at that point I was in a very rocky relationship with my relationship that I was in. I was not really too happy. We were about to move. Was I gonna sign a new lease with him? I was just very like debating whether or not I was going to continue my relationship with my significant other at the time. And it had nothing to do with Mauricio. Some people say that it did, but it did not. I did not talk to Mauricio until the January of 2019. And I left my boyfriend of almost 5 years in like March of 2018. So it had been almost a year out of my relationship before I even had a conversation with Mauricio. But anyways, I went on to finish my degree and I went back to work at Starbucks. I'd quit, got my degree, was working with my sister. It was easier for me to get my degree that way instead of working 2 part-time jobs. And so after I got my degree, I went back to Starbucks and I kind of just didn't know where I wanted to go in life from there. I knew I wasn't exactly happy in Jacksonville. I knew I wasn't happy with working at Starbucks again, but Starbucks just paid really well and it was just easier to work at Starbucks. Like, to me, it was just easier to work at Starbucks than to be doing the cleaning job that I had, which was very, very laborious work. I loved it. I worked with my sister, but at the same time, like, it was just very, very hard and demanding. So I finished my degree, was working at Starbucks, and I started pursuing personal training. That was where my career choice and where I started to pursue my bachelor's degree in physical science. And that is what led me to wanting to move out of the Jacksonville area. And I had already discussed it with my mom. I was thinking about going to school in Valdosta, Georgia, to Valdosta State. I had applied, I was accepted, and I didn't move there for God knows what reason, but I just ended up not moving there. And then I met Mauricio again, or rekindled with him, should I say. I didn't meet him, but rekindled with him. And at that point, I was going through like a hoe phase. Like, I had just left my 5-year relationship. I had never dated before then. I started dating my previous boyfriend, it was like my freshman summer. So going into my sophomore year, I was, sophomore all the way to 2 years out of high school, I was with this guy. So I had no idea how to date. I was so excited to go onto Tinder. So I was on Tinder and I was talking to a bunch of guys. I'd go out to the clubs, I'd go out on dates. I was very proactive in talking and going out on dates and getting to know people and not really wanting anything serious. Honestly, I just didn't know what I wanted for myself. And I, for once, was putting myself first. And I was like, it's all about me. It's never been about me and just me. I'm gonna do what I wanna do. And so I started pursuing personal training and I fell in love with it. That was who I was. That's who I believed to be. And I was taking the course and I got 2 separate jobs working as a personal trainer, one as a group instructor, one as a actual personal individual trainer at a gym. And at that point, when I was transitioning out of Starbucks into what I would say my career choice, I started talking to Mauricio. He messaged me on Facebook and we just kind of started talking. I admitted to thinking he was cute whenever we worked together. And, you know, I was super flirtatious in this time. Like I said, I was being a little hoe and I was talking to a lot of people and I was turning down a lot of men just to go out with another man. So I was being a little frisky. So anyways, I wasn't looking to settle down at all. And I told Mauricio that. I was like, this year's about me only. I'm not letting anyone else come in. This is for me. And that's when he told me he was overseas in Diego Garcia, which was 10,000 miles away from me. And he was in the middle of the ocean, so it's not like it was super easy to do. He was on an island, and if you look it up on a map, Diego Garcia is super small in the Indian Ocean, and he only would be able to talk to me when he was in his room. So it's not considered a deployment. He was considered to be stationed there, but it resembled a lot like a deployment, if I'm being completely honest. He couldn't talk to me unless he was in his room. And sometimes the Wi-Fi went out in his room. It was super bad Wi-Fi. It was spotty. He spent more money on it there for shitty Wi-Fi than we do here for Wi-Fi, for good speed Wi-Fi, like 5G Wi-Fi. So like I said, I told him I'm really not interested in settling down. And he said, was very respectful of it. Very like, didn't pressure me, didn't like turn me down. He said, well, if you're still available in May, which was when he was going to come home for leave, that's when he decided to come home, way before he met me. He's like, I'm gonna come home in May or June, and if you're still single, I would like to take you out on a date. And I said, okay, that's fine. Oh, it didn't end there. We kept talking, and all the guys that I had met on Tinder, they just fell down my priority list like freaking flies that have touched a freaking electricity plate. I mean, I was intrigued. It was so easy to talk to him at Starbucks that you can only imagine how easy it was to talk to him again. And I had explained that I was single, that I had gone out of my relationship, and he was too. He was in the Navy now, and just all this had happened in between this like I don't know exactly how long it was, like a year to 2 years of a gap. And of what we had been talking or, you know, had ever communicated. At one point I was gonna try to trade in my car, and I made an appointment to go trade in my car with him because he worked at CarMax, but I never went. I just blew it off because the guy I was with at the time, it wasn't financially possible for me to do that at the time. And it was just like, it was not a good idea. So anyways, in January, February, we started to get more serious. I sent him his first care package for Valentine's Day. If I have a picture, I will put it up here. And also I mentioned in one of my last videos that we had a pair of monkeys that I had sent in that care package. And that's why we call our little girl our monkey. And I will insert a picture this time, I promise. I said I would last time and I didn't, and someone called me out for it. So it's gonna be right here, I promise. I'm gonna put it in there. And we just like really hit it off. And like I said, I ended up deleting my Tinder profile, and we FaceTimed all the time. We texted all the time. There was this huge time gap. And for a while, my family was, are you sure you're not getting catfish? And I'm like, no, like I've met him before. Like that was so hard. Engraving in people's head was like, yes, I'm talking to someone who's deployed and are deployed. And it's, you know, sometimes that can be kind of sketchy. Like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, I've met him before in person and we got along like really well. It was easy for us to communicate. It was just really easy. And I feel like in order to have a good relationship, you have to be good friends as well. Like a good romantic relationship, you have to have good friends. And we already had those building blocks where we got along as friends, and it was really easy to communicate with each other. Sorry, there was dust. So in May or June, we had discussed where our future was gonna go at. So we were talking about marriage and kids, and that's something that I wanted. And like I said, I wanted this year for myself. So him being overseas for the year was like a huge, like, it made sense. It was like, dang, God gave me this perfect man, but still is giving my year to be myself and to find myself. And I did. I moved to North Carolina. I started going to school. You know, I really flourished. But during that time, I realized that I didn't want to just be single and young. Like, typically people want to be single and young and party and, you know, travel. And I just wasn't like that. I was always wanted to settle down. I always wanted a family young because I want to travel with my family. I don't really want to travel alone. You know, so I decided that being with him is what I wanted deep down inside. And I was just doing what everyone told me to do. Be single, be young, go to school, explore, go out, explore, you know. That's not what I wanted. So we ended up talking about getting married, and in June or May, I think it was May, he came and he asked me to marry him. I said yes. We talked about having kids. We tried for a baby then, but knew that it wasn't gonna happen because that just didn't make sense. Like, it was like not gonna happen. Like I said, I struggled with infertility problems way before I met Mauricio. A lot of people are like, oh, you didn't struggle with infertility. And it's like, yeah, I did. You know, I was with a guy for 5 years before that I never used protection. I never used birth control, and I never got pregnant. Like, definitely had a hormonal imbalance, definitely had some weird shit going on. And I don't think if we would have went to the doctor, I'd be pregnant right now. Anyways, back to my story of how I met Mauricio. Then after he left in May, that was really hard for me. I was like, wow, like, I don't want anything else. Like, I just want to start my life with him. And we had it's gonna make me cry. We had 6 months left for him to come home. He wasn't supposed to come home in December, and it was freaking May. I'll insert some pictures of when we were together in May. I'm gonna cry. It was really hard. And I feel like during that time, I was living with my mom, and I just lived in a really tiny room with my 2 dogs. And I feel like at that point I had met the love of my life, and my life was like on hold because he was gone. And it just got harder and harder the longer we were apart. And people just, like, I tell people, like, when I met Mauricio and started talking to him, like, I just knew that he was the one I was gonna spend the rest of my life with. Like, I just knew. So being apart was really hard. And I really struggled mentally. And finally in December, he came home, and it was the most relieving thing ever. And I was petrified of what this new life was going to be, because I moved from Jacksonville to North Carolina, and then I was gonna move from North Carolina to Pensacola because that's where he was stationed next. And I was really scared and nervous, but it just all worked out so perfectly. And immediately we got married. I moved down here with him. We decided that I wasn't going to get like a job because I wanted to pursue personal training and social media. And then we struggled to start a family, and we dealt with infertility problems, and we got very, very lucky to get pregnant on our first round of Clomid, which wasn't even supposed to get us pregnant. So it was a really big blessing, because taking Clomid was just to try to regulate my cycle for more testing, but it got us pregnant. So it's nuts. And now we are almost 20 weeks pregnant with a little girl. So our relationship has been always a roller coaster ride, but I would never get off. I would never change it. I would go through hell and high waters. I'd go on the fastest part of the roller coaster and the slowest part of the roller coaster to be just on the roller coaster, because it's amazing. And I say, when you meet the person you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, you just know. And my family loved him, and he just treated me a way that I had never been treated before in my life. And he loves me more than anything in the world, and he shows that, and I know that. And he's so supportive of my dreams and passions, and you know, we only live off of his income, which is doable, obviously. If it wasn't doable, I would be working, but being able to focus on social media, which is what I've always wanted, has really done us good, done me good, because it's taking off and it's flourishing and I'm going somewhere. But in the long run, our goal is to open our own personal gym, but we have to find somewhere we want to actually settle down and live for extended period of time. We can't be in the military when we do that. So a lot of people ask me, oh, why aren't you doing that? It's like, because I don't want to live in Pensacola the rest of my life. So that is like that. But anyways, that is the story of how me and my husband met. It's kind of crazy, but right person, wrong time, and then we found the right time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell me how you met your spouse down below. I would love to hear that. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you.